guys, it's Sam with The Blind Spot. So I got a question the other day from Stargard Mommy, and she was asking if who in my family cooks, and if I cook in the house, and what kind of tips and tricks can I give, and what kind of things do I make. So this is a response to that. I'm in my kitchen. So I actually do cook. I'm the primary cook in the house. I'd say like 90% of the time I'm the one making dinners and breakfasts and things like that. My wife works full-time and my daughter is in school, but I'm still, I guess, considered the stay-at-home dad, even though she's not here really. So I'm the one that gets up and gets breakfast for her and gets her off to the bus stop, and then gets her from the bus stop in the afternoon. Then generally I like to have food going, dinner going if we're eating at the house. I like to have dinner going when my wife gets home so that we can go ahead and eat and get all that stuff in the evening out of the way. But a little backstory, I actually worked primarily, all my working life was in kitchens. I worked for about 12 years in kitchens. In the back of the house, and then I did some work on the line, but preparing food, getting everything ready for the evening shift, that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, I worked on the line, in the pizza oven and the grill a little bit, not too much. But so I do have a lot of experience with food and preparing food and cooking. I've got a lot of that basic knowledge of how food needs to be prepared, how long you cook certain things and what things go together well. So it's not too difficult really for me to throw something together if I have certain tools. And we're going to talk about those tools here right now. So some of these things I've talked about in other videos, but we're going to go over them again. One of the great things that I purchased is this talking scale. And we'll demo it real quick for you. Turn it on, and it tells you when it's ready to go.
It's ready.
And you can choose grams or ounces. Let's see how much this bowl of cherry tomatoes weighs.
11.2 ounces.
11.2 ounces. So that's great. Now another thing I can do is that's how much the tomatoes weigh with the bowl included. What I can do is put the bowl on.
6.7 ounces.
Now the bowl by itself weighs 6 ounces, but I can push this button here that says marked as tare, and that will even everything out to 0. So now I can weigh,
0.0 ounces.
there you go, 0 ounces. I can find out how much these tomatoes weigh just by themselves.
4.5 ounces.
So 4.5 ounces worth of tomatoes. So I love this thing. And then
Goodbye.
it says goodbye when you undo it, turn it off. So there is my talking scale. I love that thing, and I'll put links to all these things down below in the description where you can find them. Now I don't have large print measuring spoons or measuring cups, and it's one of those things that I probably should get that would make life easier, but I also just have it memorized which ones these are. This is a full tablespoon, this is a half tablespoon, this is a teaspoon, and then so on and so forth. And I can just do it that way. I also, from my cooking experience, I know how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon and all that kind of thing. So that's not too big of a deal measuring out those things. My cups, I use these for liquids as well as dry goods. Now these used to be easily read, but the dishwasher has washed that stuff away. But I just know that I've got a cup and a half cup, and then I have a 3/4 cup here too. And one tip that I could give is we can't afford to be precise. And they always say, when you're cooking or when you're baking especially, you need to have the exact measurements. And that's not necessarily true. If I need a cup of flour and I get a cup and maybe I don't have it exactly filled as well as I should, it's going to be okay. You know, a lot of times, instead of getting, if I'm using the cup, measuring cup here, the 1 cup measuring cup, and I need half a cup of something, I don't feel like getting the half cup dirty, then I will fill up this, and then I'll tip it to where it's about 45 degrees, and that takes out half of the contents, so I know I've got a half cup. And it's not going to be exactly half a cup. I might be a little more, a little less, but it's okay. It's not going to change. That little bit isn't going to change the flavor or the consistency of whatever I'm making that much. So don't be so crazy about exact measurements. It's okay. Now, the last thing that I want to show, and or not the last thing, the next thing I want to show is something I just recently got, and I'm pretty excited about it. I'll show you what I was using. This is a cooking thermometer, and this is the type that you'll find in restaurants. Let's see if I can turn it to where, there you go. Professional chefs will be using this type. It's just a little digital one. It works really well. And this is actually left over from my restaurant days. I've got a couple of these. And they work great, except that you can probably tell the LCD is tiny. And it is almost impossible for me to read. Okay, so I got some hot water here so we can test this. And what I would have to do in the past, if I wanted to use this, is stick it in the... usually when I'm cooking chicken or cooking steak or something and I need to get that internal temperature to make sure that it's good to go, it's safe to eat, I would stick it in, and then I would have to hold it up and try and read the LCD with my magnifier when the food is inches away from my face, usually bubbling, it just came off the grill and it's still spitting grease at me and stuff. Or even worse is if I'm out cooking on the grill, I would stick it in the meat, pull it to the edge of the grill, and then I'd have to get down and try and read it without burning my face off. So it was very difficult. So then I watched a video of another blind chef, and she mentioned having a talking thermometer, and I was like, of course, why don't I have a talking thermometer? So I purchased this one, and I got this on Amazon. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was like 20, 30 bucks. I got the little bit more expensive one because I wanted quality, and I didn't want it to just break after a couple months of using it, because I use these a lot. Thermometers I use a lot. It comes with a little cover for the stem here, and what you do, and hopefully you guys can see that, is you stick it in whatever the actually let me turn it on. Push the button, the LCD turns on, and it has really large numbers, even though I'm not going to use that. Then we'll let it sit for a second and let it get acclimated. And then I stick it in here and let it sit for a few seconds. And then if I push the giant yellow button here,
109.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
109.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's awesome. This can measure hot as well as cold, all the way up to like, I think, 300 and something, 400 degrees. So works really, really well. And I'll let that dry and come back down. And then the auto shuts off after about 10 minutes. So this is awesome. That's another tip that I can give, is to temp all your food. Temperature, check the temperature of all your food cooking. Especially chicken, pork.
8.3 degrees Fahrenheit.
Sorry, it just told me it's 78 degrees here on the counter. Pork, chicken, beef is a good idea to do that, but although it's not as important as chicken's probably the most important. Chicken should be at least 160. Pork is a little less, at about 140 or above, 140, 45. So always temp your poultry, definitely. Chicken, turkey, quail, pheasant, all that kind of stuff. Now, one of the other tools that I use in the kitchen are tactile dots. And hopefully you'll be able to see these. They're little raised dots, rubber dots with adhesive backing. and they come on little pieces of paper here, and you just peel it off and stick it to something. And I bought this assorted pack here, and it's got different colors and different sizes, all the way from little tiny ones that are clear to big black ones and orange ones. Some are square, some are round, some are bulbous. But it's a good idea to have a little variety here. I've got mine on my microwave, on the control pad of my microwave, and on the control pad of my oven. That's where I have it in the kitchen. And I've got it on strategic buttons. Like I've got one on the beverage button on my microwave. I've got one on the start and the stop. I've got one on the 30-second button, and then the light to turn the light on underneath the microwave. So that I can just feel, and I know exactly where it is. So I can just run my hand over it, feel where the bump is, push the button, and I don't have to get my magnifier out every single time I want to heat up my coffee or something like that. These things are great, and they're pretty inexpensive and can be used for all sorts of things. I used to have it on my washing machine until I got a new washer and I don't need it anymore. But you can put them on keyboard, keys, the backspace, if you just want to reach up and hit that backspace and maybe you keep missing it or something like that, The volume or the power on the side of a TV. A lot of these TVs, flat TVs nowadays, just have flat buttons, and I can never find where it is. And if you don't have the remote, you can stick one of these right on top of the button and slide your hand on it, find the bump and push it, and you're good to go. So these things are great. But that's it, guys. Those are just a couple tips that I use in the kitchen. Basically, I feel we should be able to cook anything we want to cook for our families, for ourselves, as long as we have to take some different steps in accomplishing that goal. Using special tools like these, and just being careful, using common sense, having a little bit of knowledge of what you're doing, preparing, make sure you're reading the recipes, reading it all the way through, knowing, visualize the steps and what extra steps you're going to need to do to get that done. So that is it for me, guys. Thank you very much to Stargart Mommy for posting that question. Definitely check out her page. I'll put a link down below. She actually has, I know of one video where she shows a meal that she makes for her family in the crock pot and a slow cooker. So definitely check that out. I use a slow cooker a lot, and I think that's a great tool for visually impaired people, because you can just throw it all in there, come back in 8 hours or so, and it's completely cooked and everything's good, and it's going to be delicious for your family, and it's easy. So definitely check that out. But that's it for me, guys. This is Sam with The Blind Spot. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.